In this realm, the existence of what they call witches is a reality. These individuals wield unimaginable abilities and have been branded as the embodiment of malevolence. Our main character, Yang, a contemporary engineer, finds himself transported into the form of a medieval prince. His mission, to blend modern industrial technology with arcane powers and erect a mighty kingdom. Within these walls, he encounters a coven of witches who capture his attention. The tale commences with Yang sensing a beckoning presence, a gentle tap on his shoulder, and a soft voice whispering, "Awaken, Your Highness. Your Highness, wake up." He gradually opens his eyes, a haze of confusion enveloping him, his whereabouts unknown. Seated upon a frigid metallic chair, he gazes upon an unfamiliar landscape, adorned with quaint wooden and brick abodes. A congregation of individuals stands united, engaged in an enigmatic incantation that eludes his grasp. Fragments of memory intertwine within his mind. Abruptly, he inhabits the vessel of Roland Wimbledon, the fourth prince of the Grey Castle Kingdom, an introduction to the impending struggle for the throne. On the opposite spectrum, decrees orchestrated by Roland's father bear the purpose of determining the throne's heir. All 5 of his progeny are entrusted with specific responsibilities, dispatched to 5 distinct domains, their capacities to govern scrutinized over the span of 5 years. The ultimate selection of the successor lies with the father. Henceforth, our reference to Yang will shift to Roland. Swiftly, Roland comprehends that this is no real-time strategy game. Fairness doesn't play a part, for the initial conditions vary amongst all participants. The narrative proceeds to provide a fleeting glimpse of the 4 other princes and princesses. The first prince wields unparalleled martial prowess, albeit a bit of a simpleton. The second prince is affluent to the extreme, yet harboring a duplicitous nature. The third princess commands both military might and authoritative qualities, fierce in her demeanor. As we approach the youngest princess, she stands as a paragon of intelligence, beauty, and reticence. And finally, our central figure, Roland, takes the stage. Roland, the 4th in line for the throne, fritters away his days in the embrace of revelry and hedonism, displaying an almost flirtatious dalliance with the concept of mortality. His assignment to this remote border town couldn't be more disheartening, a locale so neglected that even a bird would shun it as a latrine. An underdeveloped enclave, sparsely populated, languishing in destitution, where refuse is disposed of with unsettling casualness. Roland's instinctive response is to shield his head, an acknowledgement of the woeful circumstances he now finds himself entangled within. Yet, before his contemplations can conclude, a gathering of aged gentlemen, their visages adorned with a silvered crown of hair, impel Roland toward the commencement of an execution. A swift perusal of the surroundings reveals a throng of onlookers congregated in the heart of the square, every gaze converging upon a singular focal point, the gallows, an instrument of medieval justice, meting out its grim finality to transgressors. Adorning the gallows is a hemp rope, its course tethered to an individual garbed in a drab grey shirt, wrists bound in the back, her form marked by a modest elevation of the chest, cascade of blonde locks, and a delicate, almost fragile frame. The unmistakable impression emerges, a female, shivering in the face of the gusting wind. In the crucible of Roland's mind, he lambastes such a spectacle, unable to reconcile the bewildering absurdity of this spectacle. The words, "Release that witch," erupt from Roland's lips, a clarion call that reverberates through the air, jolting his minister, his sentinels, and the very residents into a state of shock-induced paralysis. Seeking to downplay his outburst, Roland feigns fatigue and proposes a deferment of the execution to a more opportune day. In the midst of this stratagem, Roland's chief knight, the formidable Carter, steps forth with a plea to halt the course of the execution. Carter cites the confirmed identification of the accused as a witch, rationalizing her imminent demise as a preventive measure against potential sorceress reinforcements. Observing Carter, Roland's thoughts brim with sardonic incredulity. A knight whose arm dwarfs an average person's torso, trembling in the presence of diminutive damsels, a paradoxical spectacle of magnitude versus timidity. Leaving the assembly behind, Roland strides away, a proclamation escaping his lips, the notion of attracting additional witches as a ploy to amass a comprehensive capture, a declaration void of elucidation or elaboration. Returning to his weathered castle, Roland withdrew into its confines, securing the door behind him. Amidst this solitude, he found the opportunity to unravel the bewildering circumstances enveloping him. The suspicion stirred that his demise had been precipitated by an unremitting toil, his essence transposed into an enigmatic realm. Gradually, Roland wrestled down the trepidation inherent in traversing uncharted territories, embracing his newfound identity as Roland. The determination took root to embark on an exploration of this world's intricacies. Subsequent to this, Roland and his stalwart compatriot, Carter, the chief knight, embarked on a measured descent down the staircase. Their destination, the depths of the border town's incarcerative quarters. Carter maintained an unceasing refrain of caution concerning the peril of encountering a witch, a refrain that Roland summarily dismissed with a playful retort. How could his chief knight, a paragon of martial prowess, be daunted by the presence of a mere girl? In due course, the depths of the prison were reached, a claustrophobic cell manifesting behind a lattice of unyielding metal. Nestled within its confines was a young woman, her form huddled in a corner, draped in the same threadbare, lackluster grey garb, her wrists ensnared in captivity. As she rose to her feet, her gaze affixed upon Roland, he found himself suffused with a telltale flush, captivated by her ethereal beauty. Her eyes, a tranquil azure akin to still waters, betrayed no trace of apprehension, ire, or enmity. Roland extended an invitation, beseeching her to approach for a closer scrutiny, a proposition promptly countered by Carter, who interposed himself protectively, cautioning against undue proximity and reiterating the inherent menace attributed to a witch. With a placating gesture, Roland soothed Carter's apprehensions, prompting him to abate his defensive stance. Addressing the young woman, Roland sought to unravel the enigma of her circumstances. With a voice imbued with both vulnerability and resolve, she introduced herself as Anna, her tale entwined with a father ensnared within the bowels of a mine that had succumbed to calamity. Her narration laid bare the opportunistic larceny enacted by a fellow miner, who purloined her father's possessions in the wake of the disaster. The flames raged with such fervor that they rendered the metallic bars into liquid tendrils, flowing like molten rivers. Swiftly, Carter positioned himself as a bulwark before Roland, an emblem of safeguarding against potential harm. Roland's gaze bore witness to this extraordinary metamorphosis, the rigid bars succumbing to the alchemy of heat, transforming into pliable forms. Before him, the very essence of the witch's formidable capabilities was unveiled, a revelation that cast a brilliant light on the palpable fear they evoked. As the flames subsided, Anna sprung into action. A conflagration erupted, devouring the restraining rope that bound her, liberating her hands from captivity. Purposefully, she advanced toward Roland, every step a proclamation of her dominion over the elements. The flames that had surged mere moments ago now vanished, leaving in their wake a diaphanous shroud of steam and the lingering essence of molten alloys. Roland's certainty crystallized, the arcane force of magic, the stuff of legends, was undeniably real in this realm. His heart held no trace of trepidation, rather, it pulsed with exhilaration born of envisioning the limitless possibilities inherent in this mystical power. The potential for steam engines, refined steel, cast iron, and the crafting of modern tools blossomed as a tapestry of opportunities within his mind. Yet Anna's gaze bore a subtler urgency. Her voice articulated the culmination of Roland's curiosity, beseeching his determination. The moment hung suspended in gravity, the image of the young woman, both resilient and fragile, poised against the backdrop of Roland's intentions. Without hesitation, he relinquished his jacket, draping it across Anna's form, the gesture imbued with a profound meaning. With his hands extended and confidence unwavering, he vocalized his intent. A resolute decision had taken root within him. He would harness Anna's extraordinary talents. This unexpected encounter had unfurled a novel path. As Roland contemplated Anna's mastery, his thoughts converged upon the principles of the second law of thermodynamics, an inexorable directive dictating the escalation of entropy within an isolated system. In a cascade of contemplation, the interplay of magical energies and scientific principles forged connections, bridging a chasm that had once seemed insurmountable. In this realm, where the threads of magic are woven into reality, solutions to seemingly insurmountable issues can be conjured with ease. This marvel even rivals the perpetual motion machine's creation. The minister was taken aback upon hearing Roland's proposition. He was contemplating enlisting the aid of a witch. Rather than offering an immediate explanation, Roland urged the minister to draft an employment contract. Additionally, he directed the minister to secure a dwelling for Anna once she departed from her confinement. Having returned to his abode, Roland found the minister unwavering in his attempts to dissuade him from the perilous path involving witches. Roland promptly interjected, asserting that he does not perceive witches as malevolent entities or monstrous beings. He voiced, "We lack funds, an army, and possessions. To stand on equal footing with his kin, he requires the assistance of witches. Society must shed its preconceptions about them." The minister stood flabbergasted by the eloquence of Roland's discourse. Subsequently, Roland entreated the minister to facilitate a meeting with Anna. Meanwhile, Anna was attended to by a pair of handmaids. Following her ablutions, a maid unveiled an ensemble for Anna to try on. Although somewhat hesitant at the sight of the peculiar attire, Anna opted to don it. Beyond the threshold, a maid guided Anna towards Roland. Observing a makeshift workshop, Roland and Carter contemplated the structure where Anna would hone her metallurgical craft. In due time, Anna arrived. At the sight of Anna adorned in her newfound attire, Roland found himself captivated. Anna's cascading, silken hair, her ethereal complexion, and the delicate allure that graced her form left an indelible impression upon him. Reflecting on his decision, Roland mused that standard labor's garb was mundane, while the drapery of a magician was unwieldy. He surmised that the maid's uniform suited Anna perfectly. Quizzing the reason behind his uncommon kindness, Roland addressed the torment Anna endured due to her identity as a witch. Extending his hand once more, he affirmed his disbelief in baseless prejudices. Placing his trust in Anna's potential, he conveyed his unwavering belief in her abilities, a spark igniting in his eyes. As Anna's palm met Roland's, their connection solidified. Pledging to aid Roland and master her innate powers, she resolved to conquer the challenges ahead. Inside the wooden enclosure, steam enveloped the air as they focused intently, their breaths heavy. Practicing control over her abilities, Anna's attempts were met with failures until flames erupted from her feet, enveloping her frame. In a sudden burst, control faltered, leaving her attire charred by the flames. Abruptly, a resounding knock echoed, accompanied by Carter and the minister hastening toward the workshop. Their report disclosed the sighting of traces left by otherworldly creatures. A shroud of shock descended upon everyone present. An air of concern lingered, even affecting Anna, yet this left Roland puzzled. From here on, let's refer to the minister as Barkov. Candidly, he swung the door open and presented a report to Roland, sharing news about the impending month of the demon. Roland took a moment to reflect, gradually piecing together the phrase's significance, though still grappling with confusion. His gaze shifted towards Anna, whose apprehension painted a clear picture of the gravity of the situation. Barkov then delved into an explanation. The month of the demon materializes during winter, following the first snowfall. It's a time when the sun's radiance diminishes, and the gates linking to hell within the mountain swing open. Regrettably, the border town lacks the means to stand against this event. Consequently, its inhabitants must seek refuge at the closest stronghold, which, in this scenario, is the Chengdu stronghold. Barkov also offered reassurance, affirming that Roland's safety was of paramount concern. Intrigued, Roland probed whether Barkov had ever glimpsed the gate of hell. Barkov's candid response indicated that it's an unattainable sight for the average person. The formidably towering Longji Mountain is an insurmountable obstacle, tainted by a malevolent aura capable of inducing madness and unconsciousness. A momentary pause ensued, during which Roland encouraged Barkov to proceed. Barkov's gaze shifted towards Anna, and he unveiled an unsettling truth: only witches can perceive the gate of hell due to their existing infection. The revelation unsettled Roland, yet he persevered, inquiring about the demonic beasts. Considering this was Barkov's maiden visit to the border town, demonic beasts remained beyond his direct experience. Nevertheless, he managed to address most of Roland's queries after gathering foundational information. Roland's thoughts began to take shape. The annual necessity for migration would hinder the town's growth. Reflecting on Chengdu stronghold's defense against demonic beasts and the potential for their defeat, Roland wondered why the border town couldn't achieve the same. Nervous beads of sweat formed on Barkov's brow as he honestly divulged that, unlike Chengdu stronghold, they lacked towering walls and a contingent of elite soldiers. Guided by Duke Ryan's wisdom, Roland's brow furrowed, a subtle smirk forming as he finally grasped the border town's fundamental purpose, a beacon to alert the stronghold. For Roland to foster the border town's development, he realized he had to lay down roots there. Overcoming obstacles was possible, yet retaining people was crucial. He instructed Barkov to muster all local guards, hunters, and farmers, outlining certain prerequisites. Priority was to be given to those who'd resided there for over 5 years, with a preference for those acquainted with the month of the demon or past encounters with demonic beasts. Having issued these instructions, Roland pressed onward. Ambling through the serene garden behind them, Roland and Anna relished a delectable dessert. The exquisite cake was a first for Anna, and she savored each morsel with a deliberate reverence. Amid this flavorful indulgence, Roland guided the conversation toward a weightier subject. His curiosity piqued, he encouraged Anna to delve into the intricacies of the month of the demon, a subject that furrowed her brow as she hesitantly embarked on sharing her experiences. In the midst of this challenging period, common folk like Anna and her father grappled with a formidable trial. They embarked on a journey toward the stronghold, their yearly harvest in tow, a barter for much-needed sustenance and precious gold. The stronghold responded with a makeshift refuge, accommodating the influx of migrants. The length of this demon-touched month exhibited variance, stretching up to 4 months in some cases. Yet, officials within the stronghold underscored that their harvest sufficed for only 3 months, a grim consequence of scarcity. The harsh reality often took a darker turn, oppressing the more vulnerable members of society. Food became a precious commodity cruelly confiscated, hastening the demise of those already in precarious states. Moved by Anna's narrative, Roland's empathy grew. Just as he was about to speak, Anna's voice interjected, revealing her father's steadfast guardianship during those trying days. An unspoken sentiment lingered in the silence that followed. Later, Anna's voice softened as she mentioned 25 gold, alluding to the bounty placed on disclosing witches. This disclosure unveiled her father's simple yearning for survival. In response, a surge of fury coursed through Roland. His palm struck the table, and with resolve, he assured Anna that such injustices would never repeat themselves within the confines of the border town. With measured determination, he headed toward his office, beckoning Barkov and 3 companions to join him. Standing there, Barkov was flanked by this trio. Among them were 2 guards, entrusted with patrolling and overseeing the fire beacon, a crucial communication system alerting neighboring strongholds of imminent demonic beast threats. The third was a local hunter, an imposing figure with azure hair and a defining scar etched upon his visage. This formidable man declared not only encounters with demonic beasts but also the vanquishing of 2. With a deliberate gesture, Roland prompted them to introduce themselves, setting a stage that evoked palpable tension. The younger guard's unease was unmistakable, his voice faltering in the presence of Roland. In an encounter likely marking his first interaction with royalty up close, the guard's speech faltered and stumbled. He proceeded to detail the snow-triggered protocol, igniting the fire beacon within the tower located on the northern side mine. This beacon would be set ablaze upon the surge of demonic beasts past the forest, prompting the retreat through a concealed route. Shifting his focus, Roland designated the other guard as the new respondent, tasking him with addressing inquiries about the creature's attributes and vulnerability. Despite his palpable unease, the second guard managed to navigate his response without stuttering. He conveyed that demonic beasts were originally ordinary animals tainted by a malevolent aura, amplifying their aggression. Nonetheless, they could be vanquished. Teams from the Changu stronghold's cavalry often undertook missions to eradicate lingering threats. Abruptly, the hunter's seal took center stage. He stomped his foot, gracefully dropping to one knee, and ardently declared the beasts posed no considerable challenge. With evident pride, he proclaimed his triumph in slaying 2 demonic beasts. The hunter's imposing presence, standing over 7 feet tall, left even Roland taken aback by his aura. Barkov introduced the hunter as Axe, attributing his extraordinary stature to a rumored lineage tracing back to the Majin giants. Axe then delved into his experiences, recounting the defeat of both a wild boar and a wolf, each exhibiting distinctive traits hailing from their pre-infection origins. However, it was the hybrid species that posed the true menace. Unveiling a substantial scar as evidence, Axe revealed these hybrids, apart from their ferocity, demonstrated a certain degree of intelligence. He recounted narrowly escaping into a river after a close encounter. Equipped with the knowledge he sought, Roland rose to his feet and boldly declared his decision to remain in the border town. This announcement astonished Carter and Barkov, prompting Carter to once again offer his rapid counsel in an effort to deter Roland from such a risky choice. Undaunted, Roland extended a proposition to Carter, a wall constructed within 3 months. Carter's initial skepticism evolved into conviction as Roland detailed the condition that if a dependable wall wasn't established by then, he'd retreat to the stronghold. Convinced, Carter pledged his unwavering allegiance to safeguard Roland. On another front, the scene shifted to Beishaway Port in Grey Castle. Against the backdrop of a refreshing ocean breeze playing with her hair and the rhythmic crash of waves, a woman stood. Bedecked in an eye patch and attire reminiscent of a One Piece character, she inquired about her fleet status from her subordinates. Their response indicated the fleet's anticipated return in 3 days. This assertive woman, introduced as Garcia Wimbledon, held the position of the king's third child within Grey Castle. She had methodically trained and built her fleet long before the king's decree. Despite her temperament and beauty, Garcia's intelligence shone through. Her insightful foresight was evident in her adeptness at assembling a force comprised of elite soldiers and seasoned sailors, amassing wealth from years of maritime exploration. Ahead of her siblings in readiness, Garcia harbored undisclosed intentions. The option of deploying spies to infiltrate her siblings' circles and orchestrating their demise was discarded by Garcia Wimbledon. She found herself confronted with an unexpected development. While it was foreseeable that her siblings would expose and eliminate the spy, what bewildered her was the survival of her seemingly ineffectual fourth brother, even after consuming a poison pill. To further complicate matters, a letter from the spy herself arrived, detailing her witness of Roland ingesting the poison pill in her presence. In another fragment of memory, we observe Anna seated amid a field of goats, men in pastoral attire approaching. They engage in conversation, curious about the book she's engrossed in. This scene involves Anna's teacher, named Carl Van Bate. The memory shatters like glass, transitioning to a distressing sight, Carl and a gathering witnessing Anna's hanging. This harrowing imagery seeds unrelenting anxiety and torment within Carl, gradually eroding his mental fortitude. Awakening drenched in sweat, Carl's office exudes his palpable anguish. A tragic event comes to light, the substitution of stone materials due to greed by Grey Castle officials, leading to a theatre building's collapse and claiming numerous lives. Carl's association was scapegoated, the weight of these events tormenting his mind. Anna's unjust fate intensifies his resentment, as she was a pure soul subjected to such injustice. Returning to the present narrative, Roland directs Barco to replace Anna with a death row inmate, a stratagem to mislead the townspeople into believing Anna's execution. The criminal's mouth is gagged, obscuring their face, preserving the illusion of Anna's death. Even Carl, who mourns her passing, remains unaware of her survival. In the current moment, Carl grapples with disillusionment at the kingdom's decay, inequity, rapacious taxation, and indifferent officials corroding its essence, disregarding citizen lives. Contemplating the notion of genuine evil, the kingdom's rot disturbs him deeply. A knock disrupts his ruminations, revealing a distressed young girl at his doorstep. Troubled by bodily changes and haunted by Anna's fate, she trembles in anxiety. An epiphany strikes Carl, prompting him to reassure her with a promise of protection. Walking the streets, Carl's regrets weigh heavily. He laments not defending his association or intervening during Anna's execution. Determined not to relive such failures, he encounters the same girl, named Anawa. Amid this, a billboard sparks commotion, as Roland's recruitment notice garners attention. The call seeks workers for wall construction, offering wages ranging from 12 bronze to an astonishing 1 gold per month for outstanding candidates. The recruitment's final line seizes Carl's attention, implying the possibility of securing official positions for those displaying excellence. Memories of Roland's resistance during Anna's hanging resurface, along with rumors of his discord with the Holy Church. Could Roland possess an unconventional view of witches? This revelation becomes Carl's beacon of hope. Meanwhile, Carter and Roland evaluate the wall's progress. Carter queries the desired height, and Roland stipulates a minimum of 5 meters in height and 2 meters in width. This size accommodates 4 individuals walking abreast, showcasing Roland's unwavering resolve. Carter's thoughts momentarily drifted as he contemplated the intricate blueprint of the wall, calculating the time investment needed. In response to Roland's question, he acknowledged that even with the men provided by Roland, the project's completion would spill over into the following year's month of the demon. The crux of the matter lay in guaranteeing the wall's stability, a challenge that hinged on meticulous stone selection and proper grinding. Roland didn't delve into details but alluded to the importance of cement, leaving Carter perplexed as he pondered its nature. A short interval later, Carter and Roland arrived at a newly erected structure, the cement burning room. Roland ruminated, recognizing the border town's abundant raw materials for cement. Yet, temperature control posed a critical concern, and Roland lacked the precise tools for this task. Before he could dwell further, the door swung open, releasing a rush of heat and steam. Roland instructed Carter to stay put and ventured to the door. Behind it stood Anna, her form dust-covered and unclothed. Roland offered his robe, inquiring about her progress. Anna didn't disappoint, presenting a heap of grey dust resembling cement powder, though it required testing. Curious, she probed about its potential applications. Roland elaborated on cement's versatility, listing its use in constructing buildings, bridges, and resilient structures meant to withstand the elements. He lauded Anna for her impressive creation. Presently, Roland showcased the product to both Carter and Anna, evoking amazement from them. Post-strength testing, Roland unveiled his ambitious plan to demonstrate that witches could revolutionize construction in the kingdom. Several days of devoted labor saw Annette producing bags of cement dust, and the assembled workforce gradually gained momentum. Nevertheless, despite their motivation, progress limped along, leaving trenches more reminiscent of saws than sturdy foundations. Roland's engineering background left him flummoxed, unable to tackle the tasks of a civil engineer. Frustration gnawed at him. Barkov's arrival heralded news of recruiting a stonemason once part of the now disbanded Grey Castle Stonemason Association. Roland directed Barkov to bring the stonemason to him. As afternoon settled in, Roland found himself in his office, Anna by his side engrossed in a book, resembling a masterpiece in his eyes. His thoughts got interrupted by Carter's voice, announcing the stonemason's presence. Courteously, Roland promptly shifted to the business at hand. The stonemason's gaze lifted, locking onto Anna, and he displayed astonishment, audibly uttering her name in disbelief. Tension gripped Carter and Roland as the stonemason unexpectedly knelt, his reaction catching them unprepared. Apologies and expressions of gratitude flowed from him, directed at Anna for her survival. Anna gently closed her book, meeting the stonemason's gaze. Roland observed, his apprehension easing as he perceived the stonemason's demeanor. The individual's reaction indicated he posed no threat to Anna, offering Roland a moment of solace. Anna stood from her chair, a touch of concern evident on her face, as she proceeded to elucidate and introduce Carl as her mentor. In a matter of fleeting moments, Carl's initial agitation found its resolution. This prompted Roland to voice his inquisitiveness regarding Carl's identity. In a moment laden with emotion, Carl delicately wiped away a tear, launching into his own introduction. He detailed the path that led him to assume the role of Anna's teacher, his gaze locking onto Roland's as he expressed his bemusement over Roland's motivation for rescuing a witch. Carl playfully entertained the idea that if Roland's aim was to have Anna as a concubine, it was a more merciful fate than death. Simultaneously, Carl grappled with deciphering Roland's genuine intentions, contemplating the veracity of rumors that hinted at Roland's underlying motives. Carl allowed himself to ponder whether Roland's protection could extend to Nanoa in a similar role, offering her safety. Introducing Nanoa, Carl depicted her as an enchanting and charming presence, while entertaining the notion of Roland extending his goodwill to her as well. However, Carl's perception veered away from Roland's true motives. Roland set the record straight, revealing the authentic rationale underpinning his rescue of Anna. He aimed to debunk the unfounded misconceptions that swirled around witches, assuring their protection as long as they remained uninvolved in criminal activities. He underscored his commitment to never perpetrate such cruelty on someone as gentle and delightful as she. Nanoa nodded in visible relief, then opened up about her perspective. She recounted the common rumor that witches were plagued by curses, tainted by the touch of the devil. However, she personally had never crossed paths with this sinister entity. In a display of empathy, Anna approached Nanoa, her comforting touch offering solace. Nanoa's anxiety waned as she began recounting an incident from about a week prior. She described how she had tended to an injured bird, only to witness an unfamiliar substance flow from her hands, enveloping the bird in a healing cocoon. Astonishingly, the bird's wound swiftly mended. Roland's heart raced, recognizing the profound significance of Nanoa's ability. In a time devoid of modern medical marvels, where advanced treatments and antibiotics were but a fantasy, even a minor injury could escalate into a fatal ordeal. In Nanoa's unique talents, Roland discerned a precious gem. With urgency, he dispatched Carter to retrieve a live chicken, eager to explore the extent of Nanoa's gift. Turning back to Nanoa, he questioned whether her perspective on her powers being malevolent had transformed given her newfound healing prowess. Meeting his gaze, Nanoa recounted her teacher's cautionary tales about witches' extraordinary abilities, cleverly manipulated to serve the narrative of devilish influence. She raised 3 fingers to pledge her lack of encounters with such malevolence. Roland voiced his unwavering trust in Nanoa's words, firmly dismissing the notion of a devil's hand in her powers as a fabrication propagated by the church. He acknowledged her teacher's role as an unwitting victim of these deceitful narratives. When Nanoa questioned the church's motives behind these falsehoods, Roland sighed, acknowledging the intricate web of manipulation spun by religion. He drew parallels to similar instances in Earth's history, where personal agendas often eclipsed the pursuit of truth. As moments drifted by, Nanoa's hands folded together, her cheeks flushed with a delicate red as she addressed Roland, her voice gently imploring his tenderness. His comforting smile met her plea, as he assured her that the procedure would be swift and painless. Yet, a sudden realization seemed to hover in the air, an intuition that circumstances might not be as straightforward as they appeared.